Hello, this is Hwan Sansunim, and welcome to our program. Recently, I was talking with an old student of mine who I had known since she was in college. And suddenly she said to me that she feels that she's selfish and unkind to others, and that she's not nearly as successful as her peers. Now, this was totally untrue, and I was quite shocked to hear her say that. So I said to her, why do you think that? Who's saying this to you? And she said, nobody, it's just true. So I thought about it a little while, and then I asked her, do you find that you have a tendency to criticize yourself too much? Do you find that there's a voice in your head that's often saying very bad or negative things about you? And she thought about it for a little while, then she nodded her head with an expression of sudden realization, and she said, yeah. I guess I really do criticize myself too much. There is a voice in me. There is a difference between feeling underconfident and being self-abusive. And these days, we call that voice inside our head that often criticizes us. Many people experience this voice and views ourselves in a negative way. We often call this the voice of the inner critic. So for today's episode, let's consider how we can use sun meditation to deal with this voice of the inner critic. Now, in order to learn how to use sun meditation to deal with the so-called voice of the inner critic, we first need an overall understanding of how our mental processes work, our conscious mental processes. Now, in his Dharma speeches, Sun Master Songdam often points out that within our minds, there's a never-ending stream of mental activity, a never-ending stream of thoughts, imagery, and voices that really just goes on and on. And if we examine this unending stream of thinking, of thoughts, we can begin to see certain unconscious patterns, often of negative thinking. For example, we may notice within ourselves a habit of mentally complaining about everything that's going on around us. Or we may have a habit of incessantly worrying about what may happen to us in the future. Or we may have a habit of regretting lost opportunities of the past. Now, among these kinds of habits, there is also the habit of criticizing ourselves, often in a very harsh and even ruthless way. And we can experience this self-criticism as a voice in our head, as the voice of the inner critic. Now, the problem is that when we engage in making harsh criticisms of ourselves, it feels just as painful as if someone next to us, whose opinion that we care about, was constantly criticizing us. It actually does hurt our feelings, even though it's our own thoughts. The other thing about the voice of the inner critic is that we can't just shut it off. It's not like there's a switch in our head that if we just flick the switch, we can turn off that voice. So we find ourselves, in a sense, trapped in a room, the room inside our head, with the voice of someone who's constantly, got some complaint to make about us. If we want to deal with this so-called inner critic, we really, really need a very clear understanding of how the thinking process works, of how this stream of endless thinking behaves, how one thought links to the next. That's the first thing that we need to know. The second thing that we need to know is how exactly, specifically, in great detail, sun meditation works on our minds. For us beginning meditators, it's not enough to just say imoko, imoko, imoko. Imoko and sun meditation are not like a baseball bat that you can just use to beat down troubling thoughts. And it's not like an iron broom that you can use to just sweep away unwanted thoughts or feelings. And finally, it's not like a wooden post that you stick in the ground and then you hang on to for dear life while the stream of endless thinking streams over you. So we really do need to understand in detail the nature of the relationship between our thinking and the sun meditation that we are attempting to practice. So, why don't we assume correct meditation posture? So straighten your spine, hold your hands in the correct posture, pull in your chin so that the top of your head rises. Take the tip of your tongue and place it against the roof of your mouth. And now let's engage abdominal breathing and enter into sun meditation by asking ourselves, Imoko, what is this? What is this that directs my body? What is this that thinks my thoughts? What is this that experiences all of my experiences? So together inhale, pause, and then on the out breath, Imoko. And as we enter into sun meditation, let's listen together to the Dharma speech of Sun Master Songdam as he explains exactly how the practice of sun meditation works.
화조 목출 환소목하고 진정기 각제정이로구나 정심 관망명이지요 지능입각 부사이로구나 화종목출 환소목이요. 불은 나무로조차 나와서 도리어 나무를 태운다. 두 나무를 신나게 비벼대면 거기서 열이 나가지고 결국은 거기서 불이 나는데 그 불이 모든 나무를 태워버린다. 지인정기 각제정이다. 지혜는 정으로 인해서 일어나가지고 문득 그 정을 제거한다. 불은 나무를 비벼서 열이 나가지고 그 열이 나중에 불로 되어가지고 그 불이 결국은 많은 나무를 다 태울 수가 있어. 그것은 우리 중생들의 안입이 설신이 색성향미촉법 이러한 육근, 육식이 우리 보고 듣고 냄새 맡고 말하고 맛보고 그러한 중생의 망년된 생각이 그것을 잘 단속을 못하면 그 망상 번뇌 그것이 바로 중생의 오용락을 거쳐서 결국은 생사윤회의 근본이 된다. 생사윤회는 우리의 번뇌와 망상으로 인해서 결국은 생사윤회를 하는데, 생사윤회라는 것이 사람도 되었다, 짐승도 되었다가 지옥에도 갔다, 축생도 되었다, 아수라도 되었다. 가진 고통도 받고 때로는 천상에도 올라갔다 그러는데, 그것이 마치 나무를 비벼서 거기서 불이 나가지고 모든 나무를 태우고, 우리의 중생의 망정으로 인해서 생사윤회를 해가지고 육도윤회를 한 것과 같은데, 불도 잘 사용하면 우리가 사는데 절대적으로 필요하게 잘 이용을 할 수가 있고, 그것 불 때문에 우리는 겨울에도 얼어 죽지 않고 살아갈 수도 있고, 열을 이용해서 밥도 지어 먹고 온갖 요리도 다 하고, 우리의 망정으로 인해서 번뇌와 망상, 중생의 육정으로 인해서 육도윤회를 하기도 하지만은, 일어나는 그 생각을 잘 잡들이 하면 그것으로서 우리는 생사해탈을 할 수도 있다고 말해요. 생사해탈을 해서 결국은 부처님이 될 수가 있다. 그러니 부처님, 서가모니 부처님을 비롯한 모든 조사 스님네들은 그 도리를 잘 깨닫고 잘 활용을 해서 생사해탈을 해서 무량 중생을 제도하셨는데요. 다른 사람은 다 오용락 속에 끄달려서 생사해탈이 무엇인 줄도 모르고 깨달음이 무엇인 줄도 모르고 명예와 지위, 부귀, 영화 그런 것들이 인생의 목적인 것처럼 착각을 하고 싸우고 몸부림을 치고 그러면서 한량없는 죄를 짓고 내생에 사막도백기를 갈 곳이 없어. 그런데 우리는 그래도 금생에 수승한 인연을 만나가지고 불법을 믿게 되었고, 불법 가운데에도 최상승법을 믿게 되었다 이 말씀이에요. 이 무엇고 이런 화두에 대해서 행주 좌와 어묵동정 간에 오직 이 화두에 대한 의단이 복로하도록 이렇게 잡들이를 해나가라 그 말입니다.
So in his Dharma speech, Sun Master Songdam tells us that when we receive perceptual stimuli, things that we see, sounds that we hear, odors that we smell, the untrained person, the one who does not know how to meditate, immediately falls into a stream of thinking, and if that person is not careful, they may then fall into negative mindsets of greed and craving and anger and so forth. So this is the thing that we first need to observe, that in response to every perceptual stimulus, meaning something that you pay attention to, there will instantly arise, as a reaction, a stream of thinking. So for example, someone may, flick on a lighter in front of us to say, light a candle or something. And as we look at that flame, in our minds, we start thinking, oh, I remember that first campfire that we went to when we were in middle school. Yeah, that was a lot of fun. And then later, that house down the street burned down, and we all came out in the middle of the night to look at that, and, we felt so sorry for the people who lived in that house. And so there's this stream of thinking that instantly follows upon every perceptual stimulus that we decide to pay attention to. Now, this in and of itself is not such a terrible problem. The real problem is that what we hear in our heads, the thoughts that we think in our heads, cause us to react both physically and emotionally. So, for example, I might be sitting with my friend for dinner one night, and we have a very nice meal, we have a very nice conversation, and then afterward we decide to order dessert. I order a coffee, he orders a lemon pie. And as that lemon pie is delivered and he cuts into it, with his fork to eat it, I smell the lemon pie coming up. And then in my mind, a stream of thinking arises in response to the stimulus of that odor, and I start thinking, I remember the last time I had lemon pie. I was with my girlfriend and we were celebrating our 1-year anniversary, and then we got into a fight over ordering dessert of all things. I can't believe how people will just fight over the silliest things. Eventually we broke up because of that. It's just so sad how relationships can fall apart over the smallest things. It's just so sad how people just can't understand one another. I wonder if there's any point to all this. And then all of a sudden our friend may say to us, hey, some people are getting together, this Saturday night, and there's going to be some other people there, and maybe you can meet someone there. And then you say, would you like to go? And then you say, no, what's the point? All relationships end. All of this is so meaningless. Now that's kind of an exaggeration, but what we can see here is that the smell of the lemon pie set in motion a stream of thoughts and emotional responses that help to shape our decisions and choices. We're deciding not to go to meet some friends based on the memories brought up by the smell of lemon pie. We think that our thoughts and feelings are grounded in reality, are grounded in our belief system and our values and our philosophy of life. But the truth is, we're pretty random. Smelling something, seeing something can set off a whole chain reaction of thoughts and emotions that will actually shift the way that we behave. Now, when it comes to dealing with the inner critic, this problem is exacerbated because the voice of the inner critic causes us such great pain and may cause us to make a whole series of choices and decisions that we might not otherwise make. Now, in dealing with the inner critic, it's important to go even closer in our study of the mental thought process. So let's think about this very carefully. There is a voice in our head, a stream of thinking in our head. And I would like to suggest here today that there are actually 2 different modes in which we experience our own thoughts. And the first mode I would like to call the speaker mode, meaning that we experience ourselves talking our own thoughts. We feel like we're talking in our own heads. So for example, we might be preparing to give a presentation the next day. So as we prepare, in our heads we're thinking, okay, remember, start off with this introduction, and remember to make eye contact with everyone, and smile, be pleasant, be positive. We're actually talking to ourselves in our own head. Or we may even start talking to ourselves in response to a situation, something that upsets us. So we may go out on the street one day and see that there, in the middle of rush hour, there is a car illegally parked in the middle of the street, and it's causing a big traffic jam. All the cars behind it are blocked and trying to get out of the lane. And we may look at that and get upset and begin to actually complain in our own heads as if we're talking out loud. We may look at that and say, oh, can you believe that? That is just so rude. That is just so selfish. I mean, is that person the only person who has to get to work today? Look at all the people that he caused a disturbance for. I should do something. I should go and take a photo of that car. I should take a photo of that license plate and report him to the police. Or maybe I should leave a nasty note on his windshield. We're just talking, even though there's no one listening to us. And from the Buddhist perspective, I would like to suggest that when we are talking to ourselves, when we experience our own thoughts as something that we ourselves are saying in our own heads, that this actually indicates a state of attachment, of total attachment to our thinking. Most of us think that when we're attached to our thinking, it means that we can't stop thinking about something. It's like, oh, that image just keeps popping into my mind, or that thought keeps popping into my mind. That is a form of attachment. But what we don't realize is that when we are experiencing ourselves as speaking our own thoughts, that means we are completely immersed in the act of thinking. We are completely identified with that stream of thinking in our heads. We think we're talking that voice. And under these circumstances, it is extremely difficult to enter into sun meditation, even when we're thinking highly negative things. And the reason for this is not because sun meditation is difficult, but because we're so involved in talking in our own heads that it simply never occurs to us to start meditating. What has to happen is something has to interrupt our incessant chattering in our own head. There has to be an external perceptual stimulus that interrupts our thought, or some other thought or emotion that comes up from within us that again interrupts that stream, this endless monologue in our head. So that I would like to suggest is the first mode of thinking, and it indicates a state of complete attachment to our own thought. But there is a second mode, and the second mode I would like to call the listening mode, the listener mode. And this is when we experience our own thoughts as a voice in our head, as something we can hear in our own heads. It's like someone is in our head talking to us all the time. And what we usually hear when we're in listener mode, we usually hear this voice constantly giving their opinions about everything that is going on as we live our lives. So we could be walking down the street and there's a voice in our head saying, oh, wow, it's pretty hot today. I didn't expect it to be so hot. I should have worn something different. Wow, there are a lot of people on the streets and they look pretty hot too. And oh, look at that store. When did that store come here? What happened to the previous owners of the store? Maybe they went bankrupt. That's too bad. But still, I'd like to go check out that store. There's this endless voice in our heads, and we find ourselves reacting to that voice exactly as if someone next to us is talking to us. Now, when we're in listener mode, I think that we're not as attached to our stream of thinking as when we're in speaker mode. And so when we're in listener mode, several things can happen. A couple of things can happen. The first is that the voice starts to say things that we react emotionally to. And then we switch over from listening to speaking, from the listener mode to the speaker mode. So for example, maybe the inner critic is talking to us and they're saying, you're late again. You know, now you're making those people wait for you. They're going to think you're unreliable. You always do this. You're so unreliable. And it's a voice in our heads talking to us like this. And we, as crazy as it sounds, we start to answer that voice. We start to talk back. We say, you're right. We don't know who you is. You're right. I'm so unreliable. You know, and the reason why you're unreliable, the voice continues, the reason why you're unreliable is because you're so lazy. You postpone everything. You're right. I'm so lazy. I postpone everything. I don't know why I can't change myself. I don't know. And then we switch into speaking mode. So that's one thing that can happen. We go from listening to speaking mode. The other thing, though, that usually happens is that some perceptual stimulus comes in and interrupts our stream of the listener of that voice, and then that voice starts to talk about something else. So there's a shift. There's a constant shifting of the topic of what that voice is talking about. So maybe we could be at work, you know, in front of our computer, and we're doing our work, and suddenly, you know, one of our coworkers, you know, a young woman passes by in our field of vision, and they kind of nod to us. And so we're thinking, and there's a voice in our head commenting on that. And she says, you know, it's like, oh, wow, she smiled at me. You know, she's always smiling at me. And maybe she likes me. You know, maybe I should go talk to her. Maybe I should ask her for a cup of coffee. No. You know, we work in the same place. That wouldn't be cool. Oh, but still, she's in another department. It might be okay, and it's not a big deal. And hey, is that a new computer? When did that get here? There's something that interrupts our field of our stream of thinking as we notice something different. So we go, hey, is that a new computer? When did they put that here? That looks expensive. How come I didn't get one? Who are they giving it to and who are they not giving to? I should ask about this. Oh, wait, she's coming again. Okay, straighten up. Pretend not to notice her. Don't look at her. No, that's immature. That's so immature. Just look at her, make eye contact, smile. And so there's this flip-flopping from topic to topic, target to target, depending on the perceptual stimulus that we're paying attention to. So most of us who do not know how to meditate flip-flop between speaking and listening mode, flip-flop between one stimulus to another, one topic of thought to another. And we never realize that we have another option. And this is the option that Sun Master Songdam and the Sun Buddhist tradition offers to us. In the moment that we receive a stimulus, whether it's an external perceptual stimulus or an internal emotional or cognitive stimulus, instead of simply switching topics of thought or simply switching from listener to speaker mode, we can instead, as Sun Master Songdam always tells us, ask ourselves, 이목고, and enter into sun meditation. In today's Dharma speech, he says to us, it is from the wood that the fire which destroys the wood is created. We normally experience perceptual stimuli as a kind of distraction that interrupt our flow of thinking. We normally experience our own thought as a kind of voice that causes physical and emotional responses. But Sun Master Songdam teaches us that if we train ourselves, we can use that perceptual stimulus, we can use that disturbing thought as a springboard, as a method of reminding ourselves to go into meditation. So just as the wood creates the fire that destroys it, the perceptual stimulus, the disturbing thought, inspires us to enter into sun meditation, raise the great doubt, which cleanses our mind and eliminates all disturbing thoughts. He tells us that if we rub two pieces of wood together, it will create the fire that burns away both pieces of wood. If in response to a disturbing thought, we generate the thought of imoko and create the fire of the great doubt, the fire of the great doubt will eliminate all of those, the wood of all of that thinking, and leave us in a pristine, clear, alert, awake, and calm frame of mind. This is a life-changing practice if you know how to do it. If you can teach yourself and train yourself in the habit of responding to perceptual stimuli and disturbing thoughts and emotions in this way. If you don't know how to do sun meditation, you may think you're living your life, but you're actually just bouncing from one thought to the next, from listening mode to speaker mode, and you're talking and listening to yourself in your own head, kind of like a crazy person. Now, there is, these days, a kind of meditation that's taught in some forms of modern Buddhism and also in some forms of psychotherapy, where they tell you to be very present, to be very still, to think of your thoughts as like clouds that are passing across the sky. So you have to be the sky and you just observe those clouds passing by, the thoughts arising and falling, arising and falling. And in some forms of psychotherapy, they tell you, don't fall into your emotions, don't fall into your thoughts. Instead, label them. This is a sad thought. This is a happy thought. This is an angry thought. This is, a lonely thought. And they call this meditation. They also call it, introspection or contemplation. And what I would like to argue here is that really what you're doing is you're creating a version of the listening state. You are still making the flow of thoughts the object of your attention. All you've done is put distance between yourself and that stream of thought. You have not truly changed the target of your attention, and for that reason, sooner or later, you will be drawn back into that stream of thought. You will once again become attached to it. You will once again become identified with it. It is only when we redirect our line of attention back to its own source that we truly sever the bond between ourselves and our thinking and become free of our thinking. Now, when we hear this at a theoretical level, it can be difficult to understand. So let me explain this to you in a very physical way to understand exactly how imoko works in sun meditation. So think of this in a physical way. Imagine that someone has pinched your arm very hard and it hurts. A person who is untrained in mind-body cultivation will immediately pay attention to that pinch because it hurts. So you pinch and then you say, ow, that hurts, stop it. Why do you do that? You do that all the time. You can see here in this example how we immediately jumped from the stimulus to a stream of thinking that we literally spoke out loud to the person next to us. But a person trained in meditation can do something different on the physical level. When they get pinched, instead of paying attention to the stimulus of the pinch, you can direct your attention to the body that's feeling the pinch. You can direct your attention to your arm and say, oh, my arm is tensed up. I made a fist. And by paying attention to your own body, you learn to relax. You have changed the focus of your attention even in something as physically immediate as a painful pinch on the arm. And that is exactly what we're doing in sun meditation. When we think a thought, when we hear a voice in our head, when we notice ourselves chattering to ourselves in speaker mode, instead of paying attention to that stream of thought and what that voice is saying, instead, direct your attention to the thing that's listening to the voice, to the thing that's speaking the voice. Direct your attention inward. Try to perceive the imperceptible perceiver. Try to know the unknowable knower. Raise the great doubt and completely cleanse and eliminate all of those troubling thoughts to enter into a peaceful state of mental clarity and emptiness. And that's how you can use sun meditation to deal with the inner critic. Now let's listen to Sun Master Songdam once again as he explains for us a strategy of living life based on sun meditation.
제가 부탁드리고자 하는 것은 입선 시간, 아침, 오전, 오후, 저녁, 입선 시간에 2시간씩 축비를 치고 정진하신 것은 다 여법하게 잘 하시리라고 믿으나 방선하고 나서 그때는 뭐다 여러 가지 변소도 가고 씻을 것도 씻고 뭐다가 일을 할 거리가 있으니 자연히 죽비치고 정진할 때와 같은 그렇게 단속하기는 좀 어려운 면이 없지 않으나 방선할 때 방선하고 나서도 입선 시간에 탁 화두를 들고 정진하던 그 마음가짐을 흐트러지지 않게 단속할 필요가 있다고 생각을 합니다. 산성도 젊어서 다 선방에 다닐 때 다 보고 듣고 스스로 겪은 일이기 때문에 여러 형제자매 도반들에게 특별히 말씀을 드리는 것은 방선 시간에 잡담을 하지 말고 화장실을 가거나 빨 것을 빨거나 또는 채공 고향주를 살거나 무엇을 하든지 간에 그 화두를 놓치지 않도록 더 탄속을 하는 그래야 그것이 진짜 수행자라 할 수 있고 수자라 할 수 있고 선바의 방부들인 납자라 할 수 있을 것입니다. 그리고 그것이 바로 불방일이라 아니불자 놀방자 편안할 일자 방일한다는 것은 마음 단속을 잘 아니하고 그럭저럭 지내는 것이 방일인데 불방일이란 그 반대말은 가행정진, 용맹정진 그런 말과도 통하지만은 불방일이라 하는 그 석자는 그 사람이 진정으로 발심해서 수행을 하냐 안 하냐가 바로 이 불방일을 하고 있느냐 아니하고 있느냐 판간이 나는 것입니다. 불방일 석자를 확실히 마음에 깨닫고 새겨서 그렇게 한철을 잘 지내보시라고 말이요. 확실히 그동안에 첫철 나오신 분 세철, 네철 또는 10년, 20년, 30년 선방에 다니신 분들 여러 종류의 도반들이 이 자리에 계시겠지만 확실히 불방일의 뜻을 알아야 그리고 그것이 의식적으로 처음에는 실천을 하지만 나중에는 제절로 이것이 불방일이 되어야 비로소 정진을 옳게 한 사람이라고 할 수가 있는 것입니다. 그리고 다음에 부탁드릴 것은 그 주지 스님이나 삼직 스님 또는 원주나 채공 또는 별좌, 도감 이런 소임을 보신 스님들은 다 그전에는 선방에 다니시던 수자 스님이 원력을 가지고 또 그런 소임을 보고 있겠지만은 성의를 다해서 그 소임을 보시되 아까 말한 불방이를 사상, 그 불방이를 정신으로 정진을 하면서 그런 소임을 최선을 다해서 정성껏 그 소임을 잘 사시기를 바라고 그렇게 살다 보면은 선방 시임내가 혹 마음에 안 드는 그런 행위나 그런 말을 하는 분이 있을 수가 있습니다. 20명, 30명, 40명 이렇게 여러 대중이 모이다 보면 그 가운데는 한두 분 괴각을 하는 스님이 있을 수도 있고 그 가운데는 혹 성질이 좀 안 좋은 분도 있을 것이고 그 가운데는 몸이 약해서 또 병고를 속에서 정진하려고 애쓰는 분도 있을 것입니다마는 어떤 분이 있거나 간에 소임 보시는 분은 그걸로 인해서 마음이 흔들리지 말고 정성을 다해서 잘 받들면서 소임을 잘 사신다면 그 선방은 정말 선신이 옹호할 것이고 그 선방에서 정지는 사람은 정지는 시임내는 그런 소임 보는 분들의 큰 신심과 정성과 원력에 감동이 되어서 정말 날들이 정지를 하시게 되리라고 믿습니다.
So, in his Dharma speech, Sun Master Songdam shares with us what may be his most important teaching, which is the teaching of do not rest. Now, this teaching doesn't mean that you work yourself to death, that you exhaust yourself, and it also doesn't mean that you try to sit endless hours on the meditation cushion. What it really means is that you be extremely diligent in managing where you direct your attention. Now, I've mentioned on this program in the past the distinctive nature of Sun Master Songdam's meditation training system, which he has used at our home temple for more than 40 years. And in this system, we as monastics, after we complete our period of training, we're not allowed to go to sun meditation halls as in other monasteries. And instead, we have to perform what basically our jobs are called, they're called task assignments. And we need to interact with people, we need to do physical work, and so forth. And this is intended to train us to learn how to meditate in the midst of daily life, to learn how not to rest in managing where we direct our attention, even when we're doing our daily lives. So not resting means that at every moment when you feel that your attention is being drawn towards some perceptual stimulus or some thought or emotion that you are experiencing in your body or mind, you immediately become aware of that and enter into imoko and the great doubt. You're trying to create a baseline state, a perpetual habit of always returning your line of attention back to its own source, to know the unknowable knower, to perceive the imperceptible perceiver. This becomes your natural way of living. And the reason for that is this. If you want to use sun meditation in response to a negative emotion, it's always too late, because as we observed before, as soon as you get a stimulus, immediately in response there is a stream of thinking that comes up that prevents you from ever even thinking of meditating, especially if you're in speaker mode. The main difference between speaker mode and listener mode is usually the level of emotion. We go into speaker mode when we're in a heightened level of emotion, when we're really happy, like, yes, I got the promotion. Now I should go and call all my friends and buy them dinner and give them drinks. We start talking to ourselves, whether we're happy or upset. But this is why in sun meditation we use posture and breathing in addition to the hwadu imoko. We use posture and breathing to calm our mind and body down so they slip out of speaker mode and into the more manageable listener mode, from which we can enter into imoko and the great doubt. Whether you're in speaker or listener mode, though, if you're in the habit of constantly redirecting your attention back to its own source over and over when you notice that you're thinking about something else, then the voice of the inner critic never has a chance to gain momentum in your mind. As soon as you hear a self-critical thought and you feel yourself emotionally respond, instead of letting that stream of thinking go on, you immediately redirect your attention inward, say imoko, raise the doubt, and completely erase the voice of the inner critic from your own mind. When dealing with the inner critic, to say it in a nutshell, we do not use sun meditation to silence the voice of the inner critic. It's quite the opposite. We use the voice of the inner critic to enter into the silence of sun meditation. When we're trying to overcome our enemy, we don't try to destroy him or her. In trying to overcome our enemy, we turn them into our helper, our ally, and our friend. This is the sun meditation strategy for living life. I feel it is an extraordinarily effective and powerful method of living. It liberates us from our inner suffering and guides us on the path to the ultimate freedom of enlightenment. This brings us now to the end of our episode. So once again, I will thank all of our viewers for watching and participating in today's episode. Thank you very much. And now I will conclude with the traditional greeting of Sun Buddhism. May we all attain enlightenment.
이렇게 하루하루를 여보보게 지나가면 금방 열흘이 지나고 금방 20일이 지내고 언제 어떻게 지낸 줄 모르게 한 달이 지내고 그렇게 해서 언제 어떻게 지낸 줄 모르게 석 달이 지내서 석 달 뒤에 우리가 다시 또 이 자리에서 만나게 될 것입니다. 그동안에 병이 나거나 그런 중간에 잘못된 일이 없도록 잘 정진을 해서 건강한 모습으로 환희스러운 모습으로 석 달 뒤에 다시 이 자리에 만나게 되기를 기약을 하면서 이 자리에 내려가고자 합니다.